You just really love magnets.
I do.
You know,
I'm drawn to them.
Hey everybody, welcome to Tabletop Coffee for the Week. We are continuing on with our dance. And if you haven't seen the last few segments of the dance, you can take a look at those. We'll put a link to those down below, the D, the A, and the N. But tonight we're going to talk about C, which I don't remember what that was. Chuck, what was that about?
Directly turn toward as opposed to turn away. A is accepting of your partner's influence as opposed to being defensive. N is being nurturing as opposed to having contempt. And C is giving of your concern in a way that can be heard. Giving of your concern in a great way that can be heard without being critical. Tough to do.
Yeah, that's very tough to do.
I'll show you how to do it in just a minute.
Okay, that's awesome.
C is giving your concern in a way that can be heard by the other person. John, actually, in the earlier teachings, he calls it being able to give your complaint to the other person. He said everybody in the relationship has to have the right to complain. And I think that's a little bit harsh.
Right.
But in the later videos, later teachings, he talks about you must complain, but you must do it without blame. And we'll do another video about that as well. So you've got to be able to give your concern in a way that can be heard. Here's the thing about it. Not only must you say it in a way that can be heard, but you got to say it. It's not an option to not give your concern to the other person.
So what do you mean by that? How do you go forward with that?
Oftentimes in a relationship, there's at least one person that doesn't want to complain. They don't want to give their concern.
Okay.
My tendency is to kind of become inward and withdraw. And there's usually at least one person, sometimes both people are withdrawers as well. And this is especially true, I think, for couples who have had a lot of marital conflict, and maybe they're working on it on their own, or maybe they're coming in for counseling and they start getting some traction under their belt and doing well. So you like the peace, you like the connection that you're having, and then your spouse will say something that's hurtful, and you're like, I should probably complain about that, but man, we're doing so well. It feels so good. I love what we have, and I hate what we had before. That I'm going to give him a pass. I'm not going to say anything about that. And it's very well intended. So you gunny sack that one away. And then
Until next time.
He'll say something again that's hurtful, and you're like, I should probably say something because that was painful for me. But we're doing so well, and I hate what we had before and love what we had now, so I don't really want to rock the boat. And so you gunny sack that one away. And then this process continues. And then what will happen with that is that will either explode or erode, both ending in distance. So
sure,
what I tell my couples is, I say, well, you may be, because sometimes people will say, well, especially if somebody's had bad behavior, they've been a really difficult spouse to be with, or maybe one person has had an affair, and that person maybe is the guilty person who's had the affair, so to speak, might think, oh, after what I did, I don't have a right to complain. So what I tell that person is, well, first of all, I don't agree with you, but let's just pretend that you're right. Let's pretend you don't have a right to complain, but you have a responsibility to complain. You have a responsibility to yourself, you have a responsibility to the other person, and you have a responsibility to the relationship. Because if you don't give your concerns in a way that can be heard, you will explode or you will erode, both ending in distance. So it's not an option to sit back and not complain. You've got to complain.
Can you give an example of that?
Yeah, it can be anything.
Okay.
It can be that maybe my wife says something to me that maybe is true, but she uses harsh tones.
Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth?
or a loud volume. So I might want to say, hey, can you say that differently? That didn't feel very good to me. That would be a complaint with a request to how to do that differently. Or,
Okay.
Hey, can you, could you put your clothes in the hamper? I would really like that, as opposed to just continuing to be steamed and then, pick them up and put them in the hamper yourself. So anything that doesn't feel good, you give your complaint in a way that can be heard. So that's D, A, N, and C. So those are the 4 things that the master couples do over and over and over again.
Okay. Wow, I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as I did. Tonight we covered C in the dance, giving of your concern in a way that can be heard. Thank you again for joining us with Tabletop Coffee, and next week we will be covering the final episode in this dance, E, emotional relational connection at the heart during the middle of conflict. If you've not seen the other episodes, you'll want to take a look at those in the description. D, directly turn toward as opposed to turn away. A, accepting of your partner's influence as opposed to being defensive. And N, being nurturing as opposed to having contempt. Each one of these go in sequence, so it's great to start with D and work your way through to the end. Well, until next time.